Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Fecio, and I have an opportunity today to catch up with my friend Alison Tweedie. Alison is an experienced early childhood educator who's also the mom of two young boys. And you may know actually that Alison helps me co-host the Western New York Behavior Toolbox Facebook page. So she's a wealth of information about young children, particularly about the ways that young children learn through play. So I invited Alison today in hopes that she could share some insights about ways that the current health crisis might be showing up in children's play. So Alison, welcome. Thanks for joining me for a few minutes, and I can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for a lovely introduction. Being home with two young boys is really interesting right now, I have to say. And I'm sure a lot of people are seeing a lot of the same things. A lot of teachers in classrooms are probably seeing a lot of the same things. So I guess we should start with kind of what is play, right? What is the purpose of kids play? Because there's a lot of debate on that, on what it looks like, on what it sounds like, on what it should be doing. So play, the main components of play, as described by play theorists, there's a few really key components to it, and that's that it's self-chosen and it's self-directed, and that it's intrinsically motivated. So it comes from within the child. But what that means in the middle of a pandemic is that these children are choosing to do things that might seem a little confusing to us as adults, right? Like putting masks on their teddy bears, or maybe visiting hospitals or playing ambulance. There's a website or a Facebook group that I follow, and they were talking about school-age children who were creating games of tag. They were called like COVID tag. So, they'd run up to each other, and they'd like tag, and they'd be like, "You've got the virus," and then they'd run around and tag everybody, and then the game was done when everybody had the virus, which seems really dark and morbid and really weird in our adult brains, but it is in a child's mind just their way of creating something that they can understand. They're taking all of this language that they're hearing and all of these experiences that they're having, and they're filtering it through their mind and creating outlets for those feelings and experiences, what they have seen and what they've heard, whether it's on the news, whether it's in a television show, whether it's conversation they overheard mom or dad having on the phone with grandma and grandpa. They're just filtering it all through their brain, and it comes out as play, and that's really, really healthy. It's actually probably one of the healthiest things that they can be doing, other than being outside playing right now. My boys, for example, they're used to visiting a lot of grandparents' houses, bouncing around from family members, going to grandma and grandpa's house on a regular basis. In the last couple of months before all of this happened, we'd go visit my mom, who's 3 hours away, or we'd, go over to an aunt and uncle's house. We were always kind of bouncing around and visiting family and friends. And then there was no more visiting. So I noticed their play shifted somewhere around April, that all of a sudden at every corner of our house they're pushing an imaginary button on the corner of the wall and going, "Ding dong, ding dong, I'm here, ding dong, I'm here to visit." And they would just circle the house and ring the doorbell again inside the house. We don't have a real doorbell. And they just circle the house and ring the doorbell and introduce themselves and say, "Hi, I'm Liam. I'm here to visit today. And this is my friend Jacqueline. Is our room ready? Where will we be spending the night tonight?" And they would just create these scenarios and kind of introduce the scenarios to me. So I'd play along and step away from the dishes or step away from what I was doing and show them their room and tell them, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm happy to see you. And just kind of support whatever it was that they were working on. And they just repeat and repeat and repeat. And after a couple of weeks, that was all done. And then we were playing outside a lot more for extended periods of time. And suddenly our swing set became the playground. It was the playground, and we were meeting new friends on the playground and coming inside to ask, "Hey, Mom, can my new friend come over for dinner?" I met my new friend Declan on the playground. One day they met Santa Claus on the playground. That was pretty cool. But we can't go to our neighborhood playground right now for obvious reasons. So their backyard became the playground, and they are just kind of playing through whatever is going on in their mind that is a result of all of this. So I guess that's kind of in a nutshell some things that are going on in my world, and some things that I have heard. And it's really, it's a good thing. It's a good and healthy thing for them to be expressing these thoughts and ideas.
So just for some context, because I don't think we mentioned it earlier, can you
Sure.
let us know how old are the boys?
Oh, absolutely. So my youngest is 2, and my oldest is 4. So I know their play sounds much older now that I think about it. Now that I'm reflecting, I'm like, oh, come over for dinner. I don't know where they get that from. They'd really like to show off the house when we would have birthday parties. They'd come over and they'd be like, oh, let me show you around. They'd give everybody the whole tour of the house. So now they're doing it for me and for each other as if we're new to the space, like they would before when we had new people come over. So, but yes, they are 2 and 4, and they're boys, and they're very busy. But it's been really fun to be home with them and watch them even amidst all of this.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But fun.
Yeah. While you were talking, the one thing I was wondering is, and this might not be the case, but have you seen any of that play that you mentioned hearing about from some older children, about specific to the virus? Like you mentioned the virus tag, but have you heard or seen anything from your boys at their younger age about specific to the virus?
Yes and no. So I've been really honest with them as to why we can't go to the playground, why we can't go visit our grandparents and things like that. Just explaining that there is a virus, and that we want to keep ourselves and other people safe. So there's certain places we won't be going. That's also why Daddy wears a mask when he goes grocery shopping. So just explaining that in really simple terms to them, and they seem to get that. That's enough for them. So I'm not seeing a ton of connections for them, and their routine wasn't really disrupted all that much. So it wasn't a huge transition for them to still be home. The only thing that changed in our family was that my husband started working from home. So I did start seeing some more, I'm working, I have a meeting, I have to make a phone call, I'm on the phone, I'm busy, because when Daddy has a phone call for work, we make sure that we use respectful voices and whatnot, and we're very very aware of kind of what's going on in Daddy's work life. So that's kind of how it's affected them. But I know that I have seen and heard from some friends and from other sources, just children kind of taking objects and maybe creating masks, even if they didn't have, real masks to put on. Like I said earlier, their stuffed animals or their baby dolls, or something like that. Some children playing like doctor, pretending to give shots, and the hospital play that would circulate back in there. Especially if a loved one is in the hospital, there might be some play on the hospital play. There might even be some death play, which, believe it or not, is also really healthy for kids to just kind of process through, whether it's the same ending where the person dies or whether the person doesn't die. They're playing through how that feels, and what it feels like over and over. It gives them a sense of understanding, right? Kind of the same idea as watching a television show. Even though you've seen it a million times and you know what's going to happen, you feel safe and comfortable in watching it because you know it's going to happen. You can do it. You can do it again. That's kind of why they repeat their play like that. Let's see, the tag, working, visiting, the playground, meeting new friends, just some simple themes, but with a little variation under the term of pandemic.
So the one thing that I was thinking, and actually you sort of read my mind, because I was going to ask a question about when those sort of uncomfortable themes of things like death and dying start to come into play. Obviously, we've never been through this before. We've never been through this pandemic. But I'm sure when you put your professional hat on, that you've been working with children who have shown those types of themes, use that type of language in their play. And it does make adults uncomfortable. So acknowledging that, knowing that it may make us feel uncomfortable. What would your suggestion be for professionals or parents who are hearing this talk or involved in this play about death and dying? How would you recommend reacting?
No, I'm feeling uncomfortable right now just talking about it, right? And I'm sure a lot of people are. Take a breath. It is while it is very uncomfortable, it's also natural. So I think our gut reaction is to step right in and stop it, right? It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. I don't want to talk about that. Just shh, quiet it. But if we know anything about kids, when we tell them no, don't stop, it seems to be the only thing that they want to do. So kind of when it's in their mind and it's something that they're thinking about, take a breath, take a pause, and be curious. Kind of listen to what it is that they are saying while they're playing. Maybe they're playing with baby dolls, and they tell the baby doll, you're dead. Okay, I immediately want to step in and be like, no, she's not. Why is she dead? What happened? But I might pause and almost take a step back first and just listen to where this is going. And that'll give me a better idea of what is going on in that child's mind, where they're thought processing. And more often than not, the child is going to reach resolution on their own. They're kind of going to come to a place, and they usually don't even need our help. They might need us to participate in some way. Maybe there's a funeral and they've attended a funeral before. We had a funeral just before the pandemic. It kind of shut us down, and Liam was kind of talking about some of the things that he had seen. And some of the things that he had heard, but he seemed satisfied with just what he saw. He didn't play through it too much. But I know some children that will create an entire funeral, and they will have that funeral 3 times a day, every day for a couple of weeks. Just kind of, like I said, going through those motions, saying the words that they heard or saw, or just kind of processing it. Maybe moving a piece, maybe not, and just helping it feel comfortable and normal in their mind. I don't even want to say comfortable because it's never really comfortable, but helping them find a place for it in their mind and in their feelings. So take a breath, take a pause, take a step back, and just listen. And if there is something that feels a little off, depending on the child, and we all know the children that we either work with or have in our homes, we know them best. Ask a question afterwards. Like maybe when they're done, they've wrapped up their situation. Then ask a question afterwards. Be like, I noticed earlier that you told baby doll, that she was dead, and I'm a little curious. What happened with the baby doll? Why was she dead? And what's the story? Is there a story behind that? And a lot of times that'll get them talking about whatever it is that maybe brought that thought to mind, and then you can just have a conversation. I know the 2-year-old, he sometimes goes there and will be able to explain things to me, but oftentimes he's just bumping around, and he goes from thought to thought very quickly. But my 4-year-old is very articulate, and he would be able to explain to me the entire thought process. And he was able to do that when he was 3 too, just in terms of kind of what brought forth the idea and why the person is dead, and then what's going to happen next, and even how I can help him the next day. So ask some questions, be curious, and just observe what's going on.
Yeah, that's really great advice. You used one of my favorite phrases, which is to start it by saying, hey, I noticed this. Because I noticed is really neutral, there's not a lot of emotion. Because I'm with you that sometimes when I hear things that make me uncomfortable, my reaction is immediately obvious on my face. Yes, exactly like that. Speaking of, I should probably apologize if my body language got a little weird, but my daughter just snuck in here. She's 17. She crawled in on the floor to bring me a cup of coffee, which I thought was really sweet.
Oh, that's adorable.
She crawled under the camera, and all of a sudden I just saw her creeping around the side. So
that is multiple levels of thoughtfulness. Yes. That's awesome.
Yes, it is pretty great. While I was listening to you talk though, Alison, the other thing that I think that might be relevant to talk about just briefly is sort of the other side of the concern about death and dying and illness. I remember seeing sometimes, particularly in preschool classrooms, that there would be some superhero play going on, like some invincibility. Do you think that parents or caregivers, teachers are seeing some of that right now too?
For sure, especially if they have children who are 2, 3, or 4, and they probably would have been seeing it even if there wasn't a pandemic.
Right.
I would classify superhero play and princess play, and even those moments of I want the red cup, no, I don't want the red cup, as power play. A lot of children, young children, they want a say. I was just talking to two friends actually very recently, and they were going, "This is what I'm seeing from my children, and I don't know what to do with this." Um, Especially for the children whose transition, whose routines changed, right? And I know that it's been several weeks, but sometimes it takes a little while for them to kind of figure out where we are and start to process through that. So that change, it gives them a moment of wanting control, right? And that desire for control, for feeling some level of control about something in their life, that usually brings them to power play. And superheroes are really, really powerful characters, sword princesses, right? So they'll suddenly be running around, jumping. We have a lot of superhero play. A lot of people, if you see my Facebook page, my kids are always in capes. We don't watch much superhero play on television or anything. But they just love wearing those capes. It makes you feel powerful, right? Even as adults, we have those things, right? Women, we have a certain pair of shoes that you put on, you're like, yeah, rule the world. Or lipstick, and men have certain things that they have as well. It makes them feel powerful, and the same is true of children. So them having that type of outlet just gives them a sense of control in the world, especially when there's so much that they can't control right now. They can't control where they go. They can't control who they see. They probably can't control much of what they eat because it's what's in the fridge. It's what we've got today, my friend. I'm sorry about that. So them being able to be these really powerful characters and have superhero powers, to be able to jump or fly or be super fast, that's just another level of control that they're putting into their own lives. So again, you're so fast. You know, you are so fast. You get faster every time I see you. Whoosh! The wind is rushing across my face every time you go past me. I definitely am seeing a lot of that in our house, and I'm sure a lot of other people are seeing that in their house too. I think there was a Fred Rogers episode where he talks about superheroes. He was actually concerned prior to making the episode. He was concerned because there were children who were dressing up as superheroes and getting hurt trying to jump from tall places, or do things that were not safe for their body. And so he created the episode just to talk about, you know, how we can be superheroes, but we also need to take care of ourselves and make safe choices, and what that looks like for us as children. So again, take a breath, watch and listen to what they're doing with their superhero play, and remind them that, you know, we can dress up as superheroes, you know, but it doesn't mean that we can jump off the roof. we also need to think about what is safe, what feels safe in our bodies. That risky play is really healthy for children. Being up high or jumping, climbing, it's really healthy, and that superhero persona can make them feel like they can accomplish anything. But sometimes just asking them to pause and say, you know, does your body feel safe right now? You know, do you have your balance right now? Are you feeling like you're safe right now? Or maybe what can we do to make your body feel safe right now? Even superheroes have to check themselves and say, do I feel safe right now? And then they have to put themselves in the safe position. So again, just taking that pause, and then being curious with your observation and how you step into their play. But again, that play is them just processing through their thoughts and their feelings, and helping everything align in their development.
Right. Well, thank you so much for the reminder about how healthy all of this is, even though it does sometimes make us as adults feel a little uncomfortable.
Sure does.
You've also given me about 11 ideas for future topics we can talk about, so I'm excited about that. That's good stuff. But before we wrap up today's conversation, is there anything else you want to add?
Just that all of this is weird, and it's hard, and it's strange and it's wonderful. And we're grateful and appreciative for all of those really wonderful moments. And we are confused and baffled and beside ourselves and sad. And then all of these feelings are mixing together. And on top of that, we're trying to be working professionals and parents and the best that we can be in all of these worlds. So it is okay to feel all of these feelings. It's okay to feel all of those feelings while you're watching your kids play. It's okay to feel all of those feelings when you're sitting by yourself. It's okay. Give yourself grace. Take a breath, and we'll all get through this. But children have been playing since the beginning of time. Their bodies and their brains know what they need intrinsically from the inside. Their bodies and their brains know what to do. So if we just take a breath and take a step back and kind of let them do what they're doing within reason, obviously boundaries are also very healthy, we're all going to be okay.
All right, well, that is absolutely perfect, and that's an excellent way for us to wrap things up. So thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.